looking at the plan that God has given to us, we see from the very beginning the heart of God. Let us create man in our image and in our likeness. And he created man in his image and likeness. So from the very beginning, God had a purpose, a plan, a foundation, and a level of what life was supposed to be like for us. As we go through the scriptures, when man failed, the enemy became what is said in scripture, the Lord of the earth, temporarily took over because of man giving the authority to him. God had given man the authority to rule over the earth, and man submitted it to the evil one. But God in his mercy didn't leave us there. After a period of time of trying to work with man, man couldn't reach beyond the force of evil. It seemed as though evil was greater than man. And God sent his Son to solve that problem. He came for one purpose, basically, number one, to bring us back into the family of God. And how to do that? Number two was to destroy the works of the enemy. And did he do this? On the cross, he said, "It is finished." Complete. So the enemy has basically lost, and more than basically, he lost his authority and his power. But he left behind such a, I don't know exactly how you describe it because I'm not a medical person, but somehow in the mind of man, man has this image of he's not very good. He's weak. He can't accomplish much. He has to do this or that in order to be able to accomplish anything. We have an attitude in much of the world today that if you don't go to a university or to a college and get a degree, you're not going to make it. We're substituting for the reality of who we are by putting our faith in other things and other systems rather than listening to God. And because of this, we don't understand this. But because of this, we are actually submitting to the forces of evil and allowing the forces of evil to maintain their authority and their power over us. When Christ went to the cross, in his death, his burial, and his resurrection, it says he took away our sin and our iniquity, all of it, complete. He removed it. But this was not the only thing he did. He also gave to us a new life. He gave us a life like his. He made us holy and righteous. Not anything we did, not anything we deserved perhaps, but he gave this to us out of the compassion and the love God has for his creation. You can imagine if you have created something and it means something very dear to you, if someone steals it or someone takes it away, you're not going to let it be gone very long. You're going to go after it. You're going to get it back to the best of your ability. This is what God was doing. Very simple terminology. He sent Christ to bring us back into his family. He wanted a relationship with us. He wanted us to have a relationship with him. After all, he created us in his image and his likeness. And one of the things I believe that is very important for most people, or all people, to understand, God is Alpha and Omega. He began it all. He will be the same in the end. He will be ruling and reigning. He will not lose his authority, his power. A lot of things can happen in between, yes. But at the end, it's still going to be what he created it to be in the beginning. The problem is we are struggling with life itself, and we are forgetting who we are, what God has done for us. Because not only did he give to us life, But he also then gave to us the power of the Holy Spirit to maintain that life. Nothing we have been asked to do by God has he not given to us also the power to do it. Nothing. Everything has been given to us with power. If you go through the scriptures, often it talks about the power at work in you. It's there. If only we would submit to it or listen to it. Because greater is he who is in us than he who is in the world. Now you have heard me say several times, if you are not having conflict or trouble in your life, you need to pray. Because something's wrong. Because if you're walking the life like Christ's life, you're going to have conflict. You're going to have conflict because you are upsetting the plan of the enemy. And the enemy is not going to sit back and just be silent and quiet. It won't work. And so when Christ sent out his disciples, he told them, first he called them, then he appointed them, then he anointed them with power, he empowered them to take care of the problems that were relevant in the lives of men. He gave them authority over every kind of sickness and disease. Every kind of sickness and disease. They had that power and that authority. This is what Christ did right from the very beginning. This was before his death and resurrection. He gave them the power that he had to come against the forces of evil and to bring new life to mankind. He empowered us with everything that he is, because when we were baptized into him as he came to be one with us. Having redeemed us, he now made us one with him. And not only one with him, but also one with the Father. So we have a tremendous ability that God has implanted and invested in each of us. Tremendous. But around us, there is evil. There's all kinds of conflict around us because man desires to be able to do things for himself and to raise up and become great in their own eyes, in their own image. And so when Jesus was sending these men out, having anointed them, sent them out to do the work that he's given, preach, kingdom of God is at hand, heal the sick, raise the dead, cast out evil spirits, cleanse the lepers. This was what he empowered them to do. He gave them that authority. They were in control. And the scriptures, as you read them in the New Testament, they went out and they did this. Paul at times healed everybody in the midst of the conflict he was in. Just like Christ did. Because this was what God had empowered man to be able to do. But Christ was also very honest with them. He didn't want them to be deceived because God had done much, he was doing much, but he said, you're going to have problems. You're going to run into opposition. They're going to persecute you. They are going to scourge you, beat you. You're going to have trouble. And so he was letting them understand that their power had not weakened. But the fact is they were going to be coming into conflict with those who are satisfied with where they are, thinking that they're doing well, and things are doing okay, and they're going to react to what you're doing. How many times did this happen to Christ? Many. One time in the synagogue. He preached, he healed, and they went after him with stones. They were going to stone him. He was able to walk through the center of it. But they were in conflict to him. And of course the biggest battle he had to face was that battle at the time of his crucifixion. It seems like the whole church was against him. At least the leadership was there, and they led the people to fight against him. But did he give up in the battle? Did he fight back in the midst of the conflict? Did he defend himself? No. Instead, he forgave them. He blessed them. He was concerned. He was on the way to Calvary. He was concerned about the women along the road as they were crying for him. He was concerned for them. For his mother, he was concerned for her being left without him, that John would take care of her. He wasn't thinking of himself. He wasn't concerned about what was taking place in his life. He had been beaten. They'd pulled his hair out. They'd mocked him. All kinds of things that had happened to him. But he wasn't moaning, groaning, or complaining about his situations. And so as he's sending out the disciples under this authority which he has given to them, he's telling them, he's saying, I'm sending you out as sheep. Now, sheep are very meek. But sheep are very valuable. But they're meek. And he said, I'm sending you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. So the enemy was there. Why would this seem to be so strange for us? Unless you know the heart of God. Unless you understand his compassion, his mercy. He wants all of his people back. And if you're going to get them back, you have to go to them. If you're a sheep, you got to go in the midst of the wolf. If you're going to change the wolf, you got to go in where he is. And so there are those times, those situations wherein there will be great conflict. Not only great conflict, a lot. And the temptation we face on a constant basis is the fact that the world tells us they can supply all we need. You don't need God. You know, around the world today they're removing statements that we believe in God or we trust in God. We can do it ourselves. We don't need God. This is an attitude that's come because of evil. It's the enemy at work, fighting against God, fighting against the church. And it will be conflict. Christ says, I'm telling you, I'm sending you out very meekly. You're going to face the wolves. When the truth is unveiled, that truth will cause evil to fight back. Will not just sit down and be quiet. The church will be persecuted. Christ was persecuted. He was a representation of the church. He was persecuted. He was crucified. But in his crucifixion, don't look at the temporary situation. Look at what happened because of it. He was risen from the dead. And in so doing, he conquered hell, death, and the grave. He overcame. I think this is very well planned out in the litanies that we are given by the church to go through. Because all the great things God has given to us, then they warn us. They say, hey, wait, God hasn't failed. God has done all that he has said he would do. And you are greater than all of these things, but understand this. You're going to run into conflict. You're going to have problems. Look at the church today. In the last few months, most of the churches have been closed. And anybody that tried to open the church, some got arrested. Some got in big trouble because that's what they did. And look at us now. You can't touch anybody. Everybody has to have on a mask. Why? Oh, aren't we greater than all of this? Yes. But you see, the enemy wants us to realize or to think we are weak. And so we have to protect all these things so we don't find ourselves in trouble. But yet, at the same time, God says, greater is he who is in us And I remind you what it says in the Old Testament. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And what are we hearing constantly, over and over and over and over and over again? When you turn on the news, what do they talk about? COVID, 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 COVID. How many people died? How many new cases? And so the fear they're pumping into us so that we will submit and not rise up and be what God intended us to be. We are the answer. Excuse me. Science is not the answer. God is the answer. But man thinks he can do it. If he's doing it, how come the number of cases in the past couple of weeks has more than doubled? I thought we were solving the problem. Lock us all up in the homes. You can't get out. You can't touch anybody. You can't do this, you can't do that. Did it stop it? No. Man's ways. God wants us to comprehend and understand, not telling us we are to become martyrs for this, in rebellion, but so that we are not discouraged. Don't submit to what they think. Someone said just this week, I read an article, we're getting too much news. We're getting too much news. Then people think they have knowledge of everything. They know everything. They're wiser than the next neighbor, and they've got the answer to all the problems. No, it's not solving the problems of the world. It's getting worse. Do you see, we have God telling us these are things that are going to happen. So don't get discouraged in the midst of them, and don't give up. Hold faith. If you have principles, those principles will be tested. If they're not tested, then they're not real. How can you conquer if you haven't had a battle? We are more than conquerors. It means we have had to fight. We've had to stand up in what God has given to us. We haven't given in to it. It's happening around us. A case some time ago in the U.S. where a baker, or a lady who had a bake shop, they came to her because she was well known for making cakes for weddings, wedding celebrations. She was well known for this. And so a gay couple came in to order the cake. And she said, no, I won't order the cake. I won't make a cake because I don't believe in gay marriage. I don't believe it. It violates my principles and it violates what God has taught. She lost her business. She went to court. The court ruled against her. But in the end, she won. She was able to open her business again. It took a long period of time. She didn't give up. The conflict was there. The battle was there. Everything was against her. The courts were against her. The government was against her. But she wouldn't give in. I will not violate my principle. I will not bake a cake for a situation which I don't believe in. Perhaps one of the problems we face in our lives is we compromise to avoid conflict. We don't want to have people not liking us, so okay, I don't believe it, but I'll bake you a cake, okay. Maybe even to cover myself, I'll say, yes, I will, but I'm going to charge you twice as much. Try to cover our compromise. But the thing is, God says, no, hold firm. Yes, they may even kill you. You remember, he says, when he first sent them out, he says, stay in Israel. Don't go outside of Galilee. Stay here. But then in this additional part of this same chapter, it says, you will even be attacked by kings and governors. Now you're talking about outside of Israel. Kings, maybe a king, yes, but kings means outside. And is this not what's taking place around us today? Governments are against the church. Governments are against the things of God. Regulations, rules, telling you, okay, you can have church, but only 50%. God says, forsake not the assembling together with brothers. Forsake not. Forsake not. Now what do? I want to be a good person who has, I'm doing everything right. But what happens when you face issues that are contrary to what you believe, or what you believe God has taught? Do you compromise in that? Or do you stand and, if necessary, be persecuted for your stand? This is what God was wanting man to understand. Jesus was sending the disciples out, and he was going to let them know, hey, wait a minute. You're going out in power. You think, wow, I'm going to take over the world. Well, isn't that what it says in Acts chapter 17? Christians will turn the world upside down? Well, isn't it getting upside down? It's getting a little crazy. This is the power God has given. And so when these things come, they should not discourage us, and they should not take away our faith and our confidence that God is with us. God is not failing us. So you can't go to the beauty shop. So you can't get a haircut. So you can't do this. You have to stand in line even to go in the grocery store. And we think, what is this? Overcome it. Don't let it pull you down. Because those things are the enemy trying to discourage us and trying to take away our faith and confidence in God. Because we think, rightfully so, we think God is for us. And God has empowered us with a power that is greater than all other power. He's given this power to us. And when we face those conflicts, we must understand that we are upsetting things that are happening in life. In the world today, you get someone who wants to destroy the corruption and all the other things that are going on among leadership and so forth, and that person will be persecuted, trying to do good, but they're persecuted. They try to destroy them. Why? Because we've got everything, we're in control. We are not in control. God's in control. We're walking with Him. He is the one who sets the course in our life, not us. We stand with Him. He will not fail us. He will not forsake us. His mercy, His grace. This is what this reading today is talking to us and encouraging us. And what a better time. Boy, God was in the hands of these who were setting the course for this to bring it about at this time. Because when you have to be cautious and careful, you can't go anywhere without your mask on, or they're going to let you, push you out or arrest you, whatever. Why? Who said I have to wear a mask? They did. They have to come up with some things, and I'm not, I'm being very careful what I say, but they got to put fear in you to be able to control you. Because if they don't do that, they can't control you. We submit because of fear. But if we stand firm, it's not rebellion, but it's confidence in who we are and what God has made us to be. I can be it. I can do it with God's help. It's not me. It's Him in me. Greater is He who is in you than he who is in the world. You see, we have come to a point wherein we've gathered this thought, okay, we got to listen to others. We got to pay attention to what they're saying. We listen to God. And probably the enemy's biggest effort against us today is the news media. In media, you can attack anybody you want, and they will say, well, that's our First Amendment right. We can say what we want to say. But if you're destroying someone, shouldn't you be responsible for that? That's not freedom. That's destruction. And yet, people who attack others and they're arrested, even put in court, they will stand here, you're losing your freedom of speech, using your freedom. We're not losing it, we're misusing it wrongfully. And should we not have to pay the price for it? How we justify what we want, what we think. Because we think we know everything, but the one thing we don't know is God. We must know Him. We must have Him deeply written within us. Scripture says if you're persecuted in one city, go on to the next city. Leave Him. It tells us in another portion, clear the dust off your feet. Don't even take the dust with you. That's why they have the mats at the door. Other things, you can't take the dust with you. On the highway between Tanai and Lilia, they have this arch over the road, and they're spraying disinfectant on the cars that go through there, and even people who walk through it. They get sprayed because you can't take our dust. We leave our dust behind. You can't take it with you. You know, we think we can do all these things, but have we done the good things by standing up for what we believe? Greater is our God. We shouldn't be in fear. Not saying don't wear your mask. I'm not saying don't have social distancing. I'm not saying that. I'm saying our faith, our confidence is God, not these things. You know, they think they can do it. Okay, let them think. But God is greater than all these things. And this is why this today is very powerful for us. Don't get discouraged. Yeah, they might even arrest you. Okay. You know, I was driving several weeks ago, and I was in the car, had the air conditioning on, and I had my mask off. And when I came to the checkpoint, soldier, he's knocked on my window, and I opened the window. He said, "Where's your mask?" I said, "It's here." He said, "You have to have it on." I said, "I'm in the car." He says, "You have to have it on in the car." I'm the only one in the car. Does that mean I have to sleep with it on? Do I take a shower all by myself? Do I have to take it? Yeah. Sometimes crazy things. But what for? Control. Fear. Fear. We have a God who doesn't deal with fear. He deals with faith. The great God, with love and compassion for us, is awesome. He says, don't fear those who can do these things to you. Don't be afraid of them. Be more afraid of the one who can destroy your soul when you don't stand by faith, confidence in God. Because there's that one. Much better to have a fear of Him than to have the fear of the one who could destroy your flesh. Because your flesh is temporary anyway. It's the soul that's eternal. That's what we need the protection for, is to watch that. They hated Christ. They persecuted Christ. Are we thinking that we are better than Him? Are we thinking that we don't have to go through persecution? We don't have to be tested? Then if we don't feel that that's necessary, then we don't really have a lot of confidence in the faith God has given to us. This faith can handle anything. This faith is not weak. This faith came from God Himself. He gave it to us. Yes, we're going to be in the middle of the darkness. But that's why we're there, to bring light into the darkness. When Christ went to the cross, there was a soldier at the foot of the cross, when everybody else was mocking him, calling him all kinds of names, saying, hey, if you are the Son of God, then come down off the cross. That one soldier looked at the cross and said, truly, this is the Son of God. How was he convinced of this? He didn't see any murmuring. He didn't see any complaining. He saw instead and heard forgiveness for those who were persecuting Christ. Forgiveness for the thief, promising him to be together with him in paradise. He heard all of these and he said, it can only be the Son of God that can do these things. You are children of God. And you can do those things because God has given you the power, the ability. Not in fear, not in anxiety, but in confidence, security. God is great and He's great in you. You're going to face things, yes. Maybe, you lose your bank account. Maybe you lose your business. Maybe you lose your house. Maybe you lose all these things. Are those things going to affect you? Oh, they will affect you to a degree. But they're only temporary anyway. Because God has something much greater prepared for you. And so if they take it away now, when you get with Him, it's going to be far greater. And so the things that are temporary, okay, we love them, we like them, but they're really not that important. What's important is our faith in God, our confidence in Him. We confess Christ. We confessed Him. And we realize you are more important to God than even the sparrows, the birds. It says He even knows how many hair you have on your head. Now for some people that's pretty easy. And for other people it's pretty hard. But can you imagine how that keeps changing? Every hair that drops out, oops, change the figure. You brush your hair and there's 5 hairs on that brush. Hey, change the total. He knows how many hair you have. Is that not love? Is that not commitment? He knows everything. He understands it. But many times these things come to prove who He is in us. Greater is He who is in us and He is against us. And so at a time like this, when things seem to be so difficult, almost impossible, yet hold firm, because all those things we've been used to are really not necessary. As I mentioned, I think last week, we're complaining because we can't get a haircut. Maybe that's why Jesus has had hair. Because they closed the barber shops. We don't know. But you see, we cut to a standard and we think this is what I deserve. We can survive on much less than what we have. I've told several people, and I can say this without being fearful of being attacking, but we are all weak because we make sure that everything is clean all the time. The people who live in the squatter areas are stronger than we are. And the diseases many times don't touch them because they have an immune system that they built because they face the dirt and the crap every day. They swim in Guadalupe. They swim in places, where it's... And they built an immune system, which we have denied us. We have to have bottled water that's purified. We have to have everything just perfect. We have to have a mask. We have to have disinfectant to clean everything. They don't, and they're surviving. Probably they have less cases, if any cases, than we, some people that live in the big villages. We're not taking care of ourselves properly. God created us to be stronger than we are. With faith, He'll prove it to us. So let us wake up. This is a wake-up call for me, for all of us. Because God is letting us know there are many things in our lives which are not necessary. And we've basically worshipped them. We put them as priorities in our lives. But God should be the priority. He will not fail us or forsake us. Now don't forget, wash your hands. Get the disinfectant, get your hands washed. Wash your hands. 30 seconds. I ask Mary Lou, they keep telling me, wash my hands, wash my hands. When can I take a bath? It's been 3 months and I've just washed my hands. We've got, crazy. But God is greater than all of this. He, I'm not saying don't pay attention to them, but I'm saying these are not the things that are going to solve the problem. Only God can solve the problem. If my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray, turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, and I will heal their land. The verse just before that says, if a plague comes, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and heal their land. Some people have rewritten that and said, when you listen to the scientists and the doctors who tell you to do this and this and this, then we will get rid of the plague. But it's amazing how some of the doctors are saying, this plague will be back in September, and it will be back next year. I thought we were going to get rid of it. Put your faith in God. Do not fear, because greater is He who is with you than he who is against you. I use these events to just build our confidence in God. I don't intend to mock them or put them down, but simply to use them as an understanding. These things are not great. God is great. These things can't solve our problems. God does. These things have brought more catastrophe than we believe. But God is greater, and He always brings peace, joy, and long life. Trust Him. He's a great God. Be ready, though. You're going to have a test. Don't fear it. Don't be anxious. It'll be there. You're going to overcome it. Because you are an overcomer. An overcomer. That's what God has given to you. He didn't promise you would never have a problem. He didn't promise that. He promised He's blessed you, but you use those blessings to conquer, to overcome. To be God's people and be a light in the midst of the darkness. Amen. Please stand.